Hello dear viewers of SSBC, wherever you're tuning in from. This is the Investors Corner, where we explore hidden treasures. My name is Kerbino Agok, and in this episode we are delighted to be joined by one of the youthful entrepreneurs in South Sudan. Before I can introduce you to our new guest today, let's take a look at this short report to tell us about what he does. And when we come back, we'll talk more about who he is and what he does. Welcome to the Investors Corner. In this episode, we are discussing business with a young entrepreneur by the name Kerbino Wol, who is the CEO of KASS Security Company and manager of other line companies such as Nile Foundation and Kerbino's Executive Conference Center. KASS is a protection security company which deals in front door security management, close protection, sniffer dog services, and money service delivery, among others. With its headquarters in Mauritius, KASS has spread out its services across the region, with South Sudan office establishing prior to independence. Today, KASS offers training to locals to create employment and ensure professionalism in security service sector. Nile Foundation is a local non-governmental organization offering humanitarian services, capacity building, and youth motivation in investment and entrepreneurial activities. Meanwhile, Kerbino's Conference Center is a business offering space for conferences on top of the highest tower in town with an executive background look overseeing the city. To learn more about these investment ideas, stay tuned as we explore South Sudan's hidden treasures with the man behind these ideas. Welcome back, and that was our guest for today, who is here with me in the studio, Kerbino Wol. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. I have to start with this question. What inspired you to venture into business?
Now, thanks again for having me here. What inspires me, I was just an average soldier. But right after, CPA, 5 years later, I thought that there's a lot of ways we can really save our country. And I thought, particularly myself, it's not necessary to be in the uniform to serve my country. And I can venture into business and create more jobs, including my comrade and colleague that were also in the service with me. And so I established a security company. And the reason being is it's something that was within my professions. After a few years, spending a lot of time training with foreign military as far as the American Special Forces. So I decided to establish a security company which is within my professions, and also I could create a job for my colleagues who were in the service, and that thing came right after understanding the market demand, and a lot of my clients or friends were contacting me asking for these services. So I established KASS, something that was relevant to my profession.
This must have been something long coming, and you mentioning that you've been in different part of the world and experiencing different people. Can you briefly tell us and take us through how you started and steps that you took to where you are today?
Well, I think everything in life requires patience and dedication. So it was not an easy, journey, but I believe in what I was thinking and I was doing, so I had a passion for it to establish that. Where it's all started up as well, I did not have enough resources to set up the business, and as far as 5 years after the CPA, there were not financial institutions that could support the CAPEC. And what I did was to save some of my salary that I was earning back then to invest it into my business, and was also investing my time into the business. So it's actually cost me about 4 to 5 months to be able to break evens, but this is require a dedication and patience. And so I was doing my job and running these things in a side.
Tell me about the starting point. How was it getting capital, getting resources to establish yourself and your company, and most importantly, getting to know the people who understand the market to give you a proper guideline?
Well, I have my own basic analysis back then in the market as far as understanding the demographics and also the market's demands. So within my professionals and my access to a foreign diplomatic, when I was doing the presidential detail, there was a demand. People were asking for a similar services because I was bringing in the world's top-notch skills to provide the PSD. So that was the reason that I ventured into that. And also it was not easy because the financial institution were not lending as far as the CAPEC to start up small business. And it was not easy to start up, but I believe in it, and I started with what I have, which was my salary, to establish the business.
And I must admit, it's rare for a youthful gentleman like yourself in contemporary South Sudan that we live in today to run successful businesses such as the one you're running, starting from KASS to Kerbino's, as well as the other line businesses that you do. What is the secret that makes you succeed, especially as a young man of your status?
Right. I think it's patience, really paid, and the hard work. What you put in is what you get out at the end of the day. What's make a difference, and the message that could go across, the country as far as the young peoples. The money could always be a secondary, but looking at long terms, invest the time to it, and this is what I did. I focused on it, and I wanted to build the foundation. I wanted to build the brands, and the money could come in later. And I think this is with all the successful businesses. You talk about Aliko Dangote. It probably took him about 30 years to be African richest man. It wasn't, up and overnight, and this was patience, and he wanted to build our reputations. And I think that is the secret.
If you were to encourage or advise a young person out there who's looking forward to start up a business but doesn't know from where to start, what would you say?
Well, I think it's all doable. What tend to happen is a lot of people focus on how hard they tried, but it's about getting outside there, and naturally do it. I think that's what justifies. But I think it's all doable. There's never been going to be a right time that young people need to get up, or opportunity is not going to represent itself. This is the time for the opportunity. And I think young people have to get outside there as far as anybody who is, seeking of establishing business, to venture in and take risks. And I think we have to take risks in business.
You are involved in companies that I've just mentioned earlier, KASS Security, Nile Foundation, and Kerbino's conferences. Before I tell you to narrate to us what each company does, can you tell us how do you run these companies simultaneously without collision?
I think time management and hard work, and it's a great human resources. In every business, there's nothing important like a human capital. And the secret behind me running these different entities separately and professionally, it's how I invest into a great right candidate to be able to do the job. We focus on a lot of capacity buildings to train our young South Sudanese to be able to take these job, and also bring in right qualified people, because cheap thing is very expensive. You bring somebody that is not really competent in this kind of job is going to ruin and will not do effective job. And so the secret is invest in the teams. And KASS, Nile Foundations, and Kerbino's conference, I'm very, very blessed with a great team that I have, and I have to invest in the team. I think it's very important.
So time is your secret. So before we go deeper into knowing, because our viewers out there might not be knowing what is KASS, what is Kerbino's conferences, what is Nile Foundation, we're going to ask you to tell us each and every one of them in details. But before that, let's just have a short break. We are going for a short break, and Investors Corner is back shortly. Stay tuned. South Sudan is a new nation offering plenty of opportunities for investors and entrepreneurs to venture into the world of business and economic competition. It's indeed a land of milk and honey, blessed with oil fields, fertile land for agriculture, national parks for wildlife, herds of livestock, rich cultures, and deeply rooted traditional history, placing the country amongst the fastest growing economies in Africa. In this program, we'll be interacting with businessmen and government officials to inform you about the economic prosperity of this nation. This is the Investors Corner, exploring hidden treasures. Join me every week at this time. Welcome back to the Investors Corner, where we explore hidden treasures. My name is Kerbino Agok, and I'm glad to be joined by a young entrepreneur by the name Kerbino Wol. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Before the break, I was asking you to tell us about the companies that you manage. Let's start with KASS Security. Can you tell us what is it composed of, and what exactly does it do? What are the services?
KASS is a security company, and with various services under the umbrella of security. We do PSD, which is a personal security detail. This is like a diplomatic security kind of stuff. We also do cash in transit. So basically, we move the money from the bank to the banks to ATMs. In these services, we have like a bulletproof, modified car that moves the money. This is one of our services. We also provide a static guard that are posted on the site. It could be a bank, could be embassy, could be compounds, office, etc. We also have the trackers. It's a tracking devices that we can chip in the car, and you can trace the car from point A to point B. In case the car gets stolen, we can be able to trace where your car is, and we can also respond to where your car is also. We also provide a consultancy, so we bring in an expert that understands the security environment, and basically we attach them to the projects, the NGO, the embassy, and they can advise on the situation in the country. Yeah.
You were also telling me about the services such as the sniffer dogs. How does it come in?
We have the EDD, explosive devices dogs. So basically we had a contract with the UN, and their main job is to detect any sort of explosions. It could be a gunpowder, it could be like a explosive, could be a bombs. And these dogs are, well trained. It's very, very high standard as far as the UN requirement is concerned. So right now we are providing these services for the UN camps, both here in Juba and also in the outstation, a place like Bentio. Yeah.
Your services seems to be targeting a certain class of people and companies. What kind of services do you have for the common local South Sudanese?
We have a static guard. It's also, varies within your muscles and your financial capabilities, but we're very, very open to anybody that will, seek our services. Within that we have SSP clientele that pay local currency. We also have a hard currency clientele, so which is NGO, but we also have a local entity and business that we provide these services to. So we're very open to the markets to be able.
We have also seen a number of security companies that are in Juba today. What makes KASS stands out from the rest?
KASS is only South Sudanese security company that's operating on the international standard. According to the UN, you need to pass what you call it's under the DSS, the Department of Security Services, international credentials. So KASS is the only local security company that's competing on the international stage. And KASS is the only, KASS is 100% owned South Sudanese. And we're here to stay, we invest in the country, and we're here to empower a lot of young people, and we strictly employ South Sudanese strictly. And we invest a lot in them. We have a lot of programs that other companies doesn't do. We have what you call the back to school programs that KASS have. We've sponsored 90% of the actual cost for the student to go back to school. And we also have what you call the emergency funds, which is tax exempted, that we pay to our staff at the middle of every month. So these three things, I think, is make KASS stand out as far as being 100% South Sudanese owned.
Let's talk about your sister company that you're also managing, the Nile Foundation. Briefly tell us about it.
Nile Foundation is a homegrown national organization. It's non-profit. And this is what also add on to your previous questions is this is what make KASS stand out. We have this social responsibility as far as other youth empowerment. So Nile Foundation, it's strictly, I mean, it's funded by the KASS. So some of my profit go back to my people as far as, encouraging and empowering youth. And so Nile Foundation is established in the conviction of empowering young people through sport and education. Yeah.
And finally, we come to the last company that you're also managing, the Kerbino's Conference, Executive Conference Center. What are the services that Kerbino's Conference Center offers?
We provide conference facilities. We host a lot of executive conference. At the moment, we have upcoming oil and gas conference that is taking place on the 11th of October. And it's going to be exploring opportunity in the oils and energy sector in South Sudan. And we host a lot of conferencing as well as executive with different size, could be 20 up to 30 people. And within the Kerbinos, we have a restaurant that's coming up. It's going to be the steak house restaurant. And so, yeah, we provide things like catering. We can go and set up small mobiles, bar, restaurants, caterings, depends on the client's need, what they need to be provided. And so this is what Kerbino's conference.
Being located on the rooftop of one of the tallest buildings in town, any particular reason why?
Totally no, it's just the positionings. It's in a great place. It's in the central of city. It's very accessible. And the road, the security play a lot of role as well. So as I say, in every market, analyzing any market, you need place, price. It's very, very important. So we choose that place because of the locations. Yes.
All these three companies we've been talking about, what are the corporate social responsibilities of each, or at least all of them, to the people of South Sudan? How do you give back?
Well, I give back through Nile Foundations. It's a non-profit, and it's an organization that tend to understand, because I believe good things happen from inside. And when I established Nile Foundations, it's because I understand youth are really the victims. And this country is gifted with a lot of young people, so 72%, of your 12 million is below the age of 30. So with all these resources we have, we need to invest in young people and give them, a skill for them to explore these resources. So with all these three companies, I sponsor Nile Foundation. That's also my profit from there. We never get any funds from any international institutions. It's all my profit I plow back to the organizations.
Let's talk about capacity building and training of locals. Do you offer such services, because such services are really scarce and needed by the people of South Sudan? For example, let's pick a discipline like catering. Most of South Sudanese today, if you go to a bigger restaurants or hotels, you find foreigners are still the one running these businesses. What is your company doing to ensure that our local people understand the definition and description of each job and venture into it with their hearts?
No, this is what we have in the future as far as establishing vocational training. You don't need a very academic approach right now. This could be a long term. So we're looking at short terms to be able to give young people, informal education as far as waiters, plumbing. You don't need a degree to be a waiter, for example. You don't need a PhD, to be a carpenter. And so this is the areas that we established, which Nile Foundation right now have few orphanage as we speak. The victims of the 2013, we put them on the mechanical training right now. We have one of these best mechanics as we speak, and this is the orphanage that we put in this program. And so I think with there's a lot of young people that are sitting idle. It's very important that we're looking at short term, and short term is to put everybody to work through informal educations. And I think that's the area that we're tackling, to give these guys plumbing, electricians, and mechanical work, and maybe further on establishing like a technical center where you can train these young men to become a researcher, which is there's a need in the market, and that's what makes us different as a Nile Foundation, because we understand the challenge, what's affecting young people. We speak their language, we're part of them, so we're tackling, we approaching, right people, and we have a very solid approach.
Good. As we are continuing, before we proceed, let's just have another short break and we'll be back to talk more about the entrepreneurial ideas, the topic of today.
Thank you.
We are having a short break to take a flashback on the previous episodes that has been run on SSBC Investors Corner to tell you and remind you about such tips and important ideas regarding business. This is a flashback.
وجينا عندي كفاءات كنينا من كده وبلدنا نسلو ننوما في دول ثاني بنا عجب كويس في بلد بتاعك إلا أنت جنب بتاع بلد ده.
Welcome back. That was a flashback from 2015 from one of our guests here in the studio. Moving on, I am joined by a young entrepreneur by the name Kerbino Wol, and we are exploring entrepreneurial ideas. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back again.
Now, most businesses today in Juba and in South Sudan in general are complaining of the ongoing economic crisis, and most people are discouraged. What is your take on that?
Well, we both know within the private sectors, operating in South Sudan, it's quite a challenge market. But again, you have to look in the long terms. Sometimes business, you win and you lose. And as we speak, we make some few losses since, 2013. Sometimes you operate on a loss. And to give you one example is some of our, SSP clientele, contract, lost values. So what it means is if you have a fixed contract for a year, based on the market value, and every month the local currency loses value against the hard currencies. So if you fix on that every month, its inflations kick in or go further, you lose this certain percentage. So within a year, because most of the contracts are signed for 12 months, so you find yourself operating 40% below the actual contract values. But that doesn't need you to really close down the business, and that's why we've been sustaining ourselves. We understand that it's tough, but it's going to get better. You don't need to go down. This is what you call the opportunity cost. So we stick in the market. We do our book right. We understand the market inflations, but this is what it is in business. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, but the commitments have to be there, and that's why we survive. But yeah, I know a lot of business been actually they took a lot of knock, but it's also the markets, the models that these guys choose to really chase. People tend to chase money, like fast money. But you set all your business, goals and objectives based on the quick money, or make the money as a primary, approach. It's not going to sustain yourself, and that's why you see a lot of particular indigenous businesses really went down, and that's just one of the reasons. So, staking in the markets and do your books right and understand the market trends is very, very important. But
what do you think is the role of local business people like yourself in attracting foreign investment in South Sudan?
Well, the reputations matter a lot. So a lot of investors, when they come in, they're not going to dive into something that they don't know. They will do their homework first and see how you roll, what was model, what is the reputation. And so, taking a step back to your previous question earlier, is I'm focusing on building a foundations, making a reputation in the markets, and I'm here to stay. And I'm sure with these healthy reputations, you can attract healthy, foreign investors that will need to. And for the last couple of years, I've been having a lot of knock at the door. People were interested to join in KASS, and because of what they see in the reputations. And so I think this is very important.
And has there been any successful approach that you have done so far regarding joint venture with international businesses?
So far, outside South Sudan, KASS is in East Africa. As we speak, we have a footprint in Kenya and also Congo. But Congo, there's some partnership entity in that place. But again, this is, came in through South Sudan context. I built my footprints and made a reputation in South Sudan for the last 7 years. And so the records still come back, but that was one of the positive things that I would say earlier, is what you give in is what you take out. So I really, give in a lot of my times, and also focus on long terms and build a positive reputation. But it opened a lot of doors for me in the, neighboring country.
As we conclude, your last word, as we conclude the program, what will be your message to our viewers who are probably thinking what kind of question should they ask you, but they didn't have a chance, or what you would like to share with them?
Well, I would say is particularly my message goes to young people a lot, and we need to be creative, and it's never going to be a right time that we be creative or get up. We need to knock at the doors. We need to get outside there, try it as much as we can, take risks, and we all have a role to play. So my message is to the young people of South Sudan is, we have a role to play. Let's dive in.
Who are frustrated by unemployment.
Yes, we all have a role to play. You know, let's get out there. Let's create more job as well. You know, because when we create job, of course, we're going to employ our people, and that's what's affecting young people now. There's no job, and the government alone is not going to employ everybody. So as a private sectors, which is one of the things that I look back now. You know, I go to work from Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 o'clock, just myself. But when I take a step back and create a job, I'm sitting with about 2,000 employees. And so that's all roots and the decision we have to make. And I know and I felt that I could contribute, and this was my role as a citizen. So my message go across the country as young people. You know, let's get outside there, let's be creative, let's, you know, establish businesses.
Well, Mr. Kerbino Wol, the Chief Executive Officer of KASS Security, as well as the manager of Nile Foundation and Kerbino's Executive Conferences, it's been a pleasure having you in Investors.
Indeed. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
This brings us to the end of Investors Corner at this hour, where we explore hidden treasures. My name is Tech Stephen Ogut, wishing you good evening. Goodbye.